Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Red Devils United. It is Saturday, it is the 19th of September, and Man United are going to be playing Crystal Palace. I want to thank you to everyone who is watching this video, and I hope you will subscribe and follow us through the season, whether you're United fans or Liverpool, Everton, Arsenal, City. Anyone can follow and join, have a bit of banter, discuss the season. Everybody will be respectful, and we can just chat to each other on the YouTube page or the Twitter account. But really glad to have you here and looking forward to the season ahead. We are playing Crystal Palace, and just to summarise what I'm going to discuss, I want to just talk very briefly about the transfers. It's going to have to be brief. We've only really signed one. Beyond that, though, we're going to be looking at the squad, the team selections for today, or the team that I think will start. I may be wrong. I'd love to see and hear what your team selections would be. So please, in the comments below, let us know. We'll have a look at some of the predictions for the weekend and also the result for United and Crystal Palace. That way, then, when I do a recap of the weekend show tomorrow, or after all the results have taken place, so probably after Monday, we can see how many predictions I may have gotten right. And you yourself, please give us your predictions below. Let us know who you think will win in the games. I'm not going to do score predictions because you're never going to get those right, but I'm just going to say whether I think a team will win, draw, or lose. Beyond that, then we'll just sum up everything for today's game, and then we can all go and enjoy the football now that it's back. So let's take a look at the transfers that United have had. So Van der Beek is the only one. Now on this channel, I'm not going to be talking about possible transfers. You're not going to see posts from me on Twitter saying Sancho to United is 80% done, 60% done, and so on and so on. I think, like me, you're probably exhausted kind of just listening to all the transfer rumours that generally tend to surround United. It's draining. It's just physically draining when you're constantly hearing, every single player that has any use to them is constantly linked with United, and it becomes very annoying when we don't sign them. And then the negativity that becomes around that, it's like, oh, we didn't sign this player, and it's like, well, technically we didn't put in any bids for them. Of course we're interested in certain players, but until we physically bid for them, and I mean officially bid for them, I'm not going to be talking about that player. I might just you might just mention it in passing, and just if you're excited about a signing or possibility of a signing, but really not going to get into transfers unless there's an official bid put in, and then we can discuss it somewhat. So yes, at the moment we've only got Van der Beek. I'm really excited to see this player at United. From Ajax, he's going to be technically good. His passing is good. His movement is good. He's a box-to-box player, gets around the pitch. So I'm really excited to see what he can add and what he can bring to the team. I don't want people to have too high expectations. He's only young. You look at, we brought in Bruno in January and the impact he's had, and to hope another player could replicate that, I think we'll be placing too much on that player, because the impact Bruno has had and how he has elevated all the players around him since arriving in January is unbelievable. I don't think any player has done that to this extent. We signed Van Persie to a team that wasn't an unbelievable squad, and they went on to win the league by what was then a record margin. But it's very rare you see that. So I want Van der Beek to play. I know he'll get minutes today. I don't think he'll start, but I don't want to be thinking, or players or fans thinking that he's going to have that kind of massive impact that Bruno had. I'd love him to, but I don't think he will. So the transfers is just Van der Beek. Yes, officially I think we are in, and everybody knows we're in for Sancho. I don't want to dwell on it too much. I honestly don't think he's going to be signed. It could be another case of Bruno. We don't get him. We're going to see how the season pans out and plays out a bit, and then maybe in January they decide to bite the bullet. Especially when we know more things about whether or not fans can actually come to the stadium, and that revenue stream can start up again. And when we have more information, and when the board knows more about that, then maybe they'll put a bid in January, and one that's acceptable to Dortmund, which we all know is above 100 million which on the face of it, it's an awful lot of money in the current climate. So, I can understand why they don't want to pay that. And I can understand that when you're looking at other players you're trying to buy from other teams, whether it's a centre back, whether it's a left back. If a club sees you paying 110 million in this climate, then it's automatically going to increase the price of any other player you bid for. So again, I don't think it's going to happen. We'll wait and see. We have until the 5th of October. I'd love to see him at the club. I'd love to see the depth and the quality in depth improved, and he would do that. He would walk straight into the team, but it would put less pressure on Greenwood. It would give us more options. It would allow us to change the squad more often. Last season, and there's a recap episode, guys. If you want to go and check out a recap episode of last season, I've got an episode of last season. I've got an episode dedicated to what I think of Ollie Gunnar Solskjaer and what he's done at the club. So find out my views on that by checking out those videos. But in relation to Greenwood, I think it would just give us more depth, more options, and allow us to change the team a bit. As I mentioned last season, we had on an 18-game unbeaten run. It was an unbelievable period from the 22nd of January all the way through until the end within the league. But we did start to play the exact same midfield constantly over and over again, and they did get tired. They did. It was very hard for them not to get tired, for them not to get a bit mentally and physically drained, considering the 100-day break that they had from March until football started back sometime in June. So we do need players to be able to come in and change it. And when McTominay was coming in, he didn't really do great. He didn't change it too much. When Fred came in off the bench, he didn't change it. So we seem to have a lack of options on the bench. And if we brought in Sancho, like we brought in Van der Beek, I think that would add an awful lot of quality and depth that we would have. So the transfers, it's just Van der Beek. It's not been a great transfer window. Chelsea have massively improved. Liverpool have only brought in one or two. Thiago, who's a fantastic player, but he's a 29-year-old midfielder who only scored, I think, 6 goals in the last 80 games. So he doesn't really bring goals to the midfield, and that's the one thing their midfield lacks. Chelsea's improvement is vast. Now Arsenal seem to have improved. They played really well in the opening weekend, and Arteta is doing good things there. Spurs possibly getting Bale, which would be a massive improvement to their team and really, really give them a lift, probably all around, to be fair. Leicester are probably stayed a bit stale, and Man City haven't really brought in too much so far. So United are lagging behind, but the quality or the vast difference in our team from the second half of last season from what the first half was like, when Bruno came in, when Pogba came back from fitness, when Martial, Greenwood and Rashford were all available at the same time, which actually happened very rarely in the first half of our season last year. But when we had all those 3 options up front, and when we had Pogba, when we had Bruno, the difference in our team in the second half of the year, it's just unbelievable. So the gap that we needed to close from last season, a lot of that gap was closed when Bruno came in, when Pogba came back from injury, when Martial, Rashford and Greenwood were all fit at the same time. A lot of that gap was closed. Van der Beek comes in and hopefully he closes it a little bit more, and hopefully we'll bring in another transfer soon that will also help close the gap a bit more. I think the team that we have, it's a good squad. If we look here, we'll be able to see what I think the team will be. I think we're going to see a back 4 if Shaw is fully fit. We're going to see Shaw, Maguire, Lindelof and Aaron Wan-Bissaka. I know there's talk about the keeper. Obviously, the Henderson kid is an unbelievable goalkeeper. Had an unbelievable season last year, but that doesn't mean he walks into the team ahead of De Gea. For all his mistakes or errors that he had over the last season or two, he is still one of the top 3 goalkeepers in the world. And only there he played for Spain, and the manager of Spain was complimenting him so much because he had a man of the match performance for Spain. He's a wonderful goalkeeper, and for me he will obviously keep his spot. Beyond that, I do see that we will have the back 4 will pick itself. There's talk about Williams possibly. but I will go with Shaw if he's fit. Matic to sit him back in front of the back four. Now we could go with Matic here and bring Pogba down, but honestly I do feel like Pogba should be playing a bit more further up, with Matic sitting in protecting the defence. It would give the midfield of Crystal Palace a lot more to think about. It would peg them back a lot more if it wasn't just Fernandes sitting ahead of them, and then Pogba and Matic sitting in front of them. But if Pogba was up in the mix, they wouldn't be allowed to venture forward too far, because this front five is brilliant. Our front three of Greenwood, Martial and Rashford. I mean, Greenwood's only 18, Rashford is only 22, Martial's only 24. The average age here is phenomenal. They only scored, I think, something like 4 less goals than Liverpool's front three in the league. They actually outscored Liverpool's front three in all competitions, but in the league alone, they're only 4 behind. And we're talking about an 18-year-old who only played about 3/4 of the season, Martial, who was injured for a quarter of the season, and Rashford, who was injured for a quarter of the season, all at different times. So they only scored 4 goals less, but they barely played together for a long period. Liverpool's front three, I think, pretty much played the entire season. They might have had a week here, a week there, where they were injured, but they played together for the entire season, and our three did not, and only scored 4 less goals. They're phenomenal. And if you have Fernandes and Bruno mixing and interlinking and running around, causing havoc within this end of the pitch, with Greenwood and Rashford making runs in behind, Martial coming to collect the ball, we're going to see an awful lot of chances created. Okay, we want obviously the fullbacks to come up. We want the fullbacks to come up. We want some overlapping going on, but ultimately, this front three that we have should really cause enough problems, with Pogba and Fernandes playing slightly higher up. That's the team I would play. Williams is on the bench. I actually don't have Van de Beek in here, so obviously Van de Beek will be on the bench for me, and I do think he'll come on. I do think he'll play, but this is my starting 11. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Let me know, who will you take out, who would you start. Maybe you play a different formation, but I think this is the best 11 we had available to us at the end of last season. And then with the options of Van der Beek coming in, it gives us a chance to change it up a little bit. You could possibly go with Matic. You could bring Greenwood, could come off. Van der Beek could go on beside Fernandes, and Pogba could play higher up. There's an awful lot of things that you could do within our team just with one extra player now available. You've got Daniel James as well. I don't have him there on the bench, but he'll be available and he'll be an option. But I think in a team where Crystal Palace will sit back a lot for large spells, that rules out kind of any impact James can have. So really, that's the 11. I think Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, that's the 11 he should play. It's the 11 I want to see, with exception of Van der Beek. If Van der Beek starts, then that would be fantastic. But this is where I think the team will go. I'd love to know your thoughts on that and what you think. Beyond that, then, what I do think is the predictions. This is our weekend fixtures. As you can see, United playing now at 5:30. Really looking forward to that game. The Everton game is kicking off shortly. So, how do I think this weekend's fixtures will go? Well, I think Everton are going to win. They've done well in the opening weekend. Also, we can see that they brought in a couple of really good players, and Ancelotti is doing great things there. So I see an Everton win. Leeds were fantastic last weekend. They really put it up to Liverpool. They probably, in fairness, they deserved the point. I mean, nobody goes to Anfield and, out passes, has more possession, outruns Liverpool, and they did all of that at Anfield, and they really should have came away with a point. I think Liverpool were very lucky in that match to walk away with 3 points. But Leeds, I think they will get an easy win at Fulham. I think United will win. I'm looking at 2-0. Love to know your thoughts. Will they? I'll be delighted with 1-0 at the moment. The opening game, you just want to walk away with 3 points. So I'll be looking forward to hopefully a 2-0 win. Arsenal, I think they played really well last week. I think Arsenal will win. I think Spurs will win, especially if Gareth Bale is in the stands watching. I think that will give the players a lift. If he's in the dressing room, it will give the players a lift. And Kane, Son, they're going to be looking forward to playing with this guy. They're going to want to show him what they can do. So I see them getting an away win against Southampton. I know Newcastle did quite well last week. I think they'll get a draw against Brighton. And Chelsea-Liverpool, the big game on Sunday. Now, I think Liverpool were really, really poor last week. Trent, I think, got beaten by a run or by a man dribbling past him more times in that game than Aaron Wan-Bissaka got beaten in the entire of last season. Yeah, he was really, really poor. They kept giving the ball away. They were making individual errors. Mistakes were leading to goals. And they looked a bit tired. And I think without the fans at Anfield, it really, really hinders the way they play. I think they rely on their fans a lot more than other teams will. They're away to Chelsea. This game may come a bit early for Chelsea. You know, their team, they've bought so many great players. Their team really needs time to gel and get used to each other. And this game may be just a few weeks too soon. I honestly think Chelsea will beat Liverpool in this match if it was 3 or 4 weeks away from now. But because it's the second weekend of the season, I see them walking away with a draw. You know, which would be great. Be great for United to see Chelsea drop points, to see Liverpool drop points. But that's where I see this game. Then you've got Leicester and Burnley. I think Leicester will come away with a win. They've not strengthened much so far, but they've still got some great players, you know. Vardy is still a fantastic forward. He's still running like he's a 17-year-old. And I do think that they will walk away with the win. And I'm also just going to bring this up to take a look at the bottom fixtures of Monday. Villa, Sheffield United, Wolves, Man City. I think like a Villa draw would be a great result for them. Sheffield United were a fantastic team last season. They overachieved for large portions of the season. You know, looking at top 6, they were looking at top 4 for a lot of it. They're a very good side. I think Villa get a draw, considering they just avoided relegation. They will be delighted with that, and because they're a home team, I think they'll get it. I do think Wolves will put it up to City. I think they will have a very good game, but I think City will be too much for them. They'll walk away with the 3 points, which I think, unfortunately for all of us, would leave City or Arsenal top of the league. So we'll have to wait and see what happens with that. Guys, this is the first episode, the first fixture we have, but the first episode of Red Devils United. I'm looking to build up a fan base where we can have live chat going on this screen. We can have a live chat going on where we can talk back and forth. I can answer questions. None of this, you know, paid for questions. Just on the chat, ask a question, make a comment, and we can have a bit of back and forth and discussion about the game, about the different teams that are playing each other, and really just create a good environment for people to talk about football from all teams. Of course, United fans, but from all teams, because you know, it's good to have lively debate. It's good to have chats about that. But I can't grow without you guys. I can't grow without people subscribing, without people sharing the videos. So please do. If you can also look us up on Twitter and follow me on Twitter. It's at red_devils_show. So at red_devils_show. Please follow again, and we can just chat and build a great football fan community and a United fan group to look forward to, I think, an unbelievably competitive season. I've got a separate video that will discuss why I think this season is going to be brilliant and competitive as opposed to last year, and why that is. So you can check that out in the videos as well. So I'm going to leave you looking forward to the football. Let's hope we get a win. And I really look forward to seeing and chatting with you all again soon. Thanks very much, guys.